What if the most sacred site in Christianity, the very tomb of Jesus, rests on a 300-year-old memory gap that archaeology can never prove? One building in Jerusalem holds the traditional sites of the crucifixion, burial, and resurrection. But here's the twist. Scholars are still fiercely divided over whether this is the real location or just a powerful ancient guess. Welcome to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, nestled in the northwest corner of Jerusalem's Old City. This church was originally commissioned by the Roman Emperor Constantine and consecrated in the year 335. But what you see today isn't the original, it's medieval, rebuilt again and again after fires, earthquakes, and invasions. If you visit, you'll wind through shadowy, cavernous halls. You can touch the stone of unction, where Jesus' body was said to be anointed. You can stand before the edicule, the small shrine inside the main rotunda that marks the traditional tomb itself. Most Christian denominations, Catholic, Armenian, Greek Orthodox, and others, share custody of this site. Thousands of pilgrims flock here every single day. But behind the devotion lies a haunting question. Is this truly where Jesus was laid to rest? Let's rewind. The Gospels tell us Jesus was crucified outside the city walls. A wealthy follower, Joseph of Arimathea, asked Pontius Pilate for the body and placed it in a new rock-cut tomb. But scholars are split. Some argue that crucified criminals, especially from lower classes, were usually dumped in mass graves or left on the cross. Others point to Jewish law, which required burial before sundown even for criminals. Here's where it gets mysterious. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre now stands inside Jerusalem's massive Ottoman-era walls. But in Jesus' time, this area was a quarry outside the city, undeveloped, dotted with tombs. Archaeologists have found burial niches from the same period right next to the church. In fact, the whole area was a necropolis, a city of the dead. So how did this become the accepted site? Centuries after Jesus' death, the Roman Emperor Hadrian rebuilt Jerusalem and built a temple to Aphrodite right over this area. When Constantine legalized Christianity, the local bishop, Macarius, asked to excavate beneath that pagan temple. And according to the historian Eusebius, they found a tomb, just like that. But why here? Why dig under a Roman temple inside the city walls, when tradition clearly placed the tomb outside? Some say there must have been an older local tradition, a memory that survived persecution and time. Maybe early Christians had venerated this spot in secret. Maybe there was graffiti. Maybe dreams and divine hints guided them. We may never know. Because here's the catch. There's a 300-year gap between Jesus' death and Constantine's excavation. 3 centuries of war, destruction, exile. Jerusalem was sacked in 70 AD, rebuilt as a pagan city. The original Christian community was scattered, silenced, gone. Could an oral tradition survive all that? Some scholars say yes, the clues are too strong. Others call it wishful thinking. There's even an alternative, the Garden Tomb just outside the Damascus Gate. It was popularized in the 19th century by Protestants skeptical of the Holy Sepulchre. But archaeology quickly debunked it. The Garden Tomb dates back to the Iron Age, not the time of Jesus. So where does that leave us? We may never know with absolute certainty if the Church of the Holy Sepulchre is the true tomb of Christ. What we do know is this. For millions, it doesn't just represent history, it makes history tangible. It turns faith into something you can touch, something you can kneel before. It's a place where belief becomes landscape. Constantine didn't just build a church, he built an experience. And that experience has lasted longer than empires, longer than doubts, longer than every excavation and argument. Sometimes, what we choose to believe becomes more powerful than what we can prove.